What is up, guys? It's your boy Jimmy P. And on Thanksgiving Eve, I had the chance to go see the new Resident Evil reboot, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I've seen a lot of reviews for it, and it's not getting reviewed very well, although people that are actually going to the theater and going to see it are kind of seeing the truth for what it is, and what it is a fun little action horror movie. So obviously this is a reboot. There was a long-going Resident Evil franchise of films from Paul S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich as the running star of those movies. Those are very much action movies, I would say, with like horror elements. Maybe not so much the first one, but as time went on, that became an action franchise, not a horror franchise, I don't think. This really takes it back to the roots of Resident Evil, which is something that I really liked. So being a reboot, takes it back to the beginning of Resident Evils. And for any of you who've played those video games, this is kind of an amalgamation of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 because they happened at the same time pretty much. A lot of the characters from both those games show up here. So the scope was already pretty big. They had a lot of ground they had to cover. A lot of iconic stuff that they had to choose from to put into this movie. And I think, for the most part, they did a pretty good job picking out, like, the bones, like, let's say, the spinal cord of the Resident Evil story. And they put it here on full display. Let's talk about some of the things that I really liked about this movie. For one, the atmosphere, like, Raccoon City is fully realized here, I think. Like, the best interpretation that you could get besides the video games, and maybe even better. I mean, we got we got an orphanage, we got, like, a diner. Other iconic areas in Raccoon City, the Spencer Mansion. There's a really cool scene where the chopper that takes Bravo Team to the Spencer Mansion is flying over this forest. And they just have their spotlights and they're flying to the Spencer Mansion, and you just see them looking down, and it's just darkness, and then there's trees. It looked really ominous, and I thought they did a really good job with that. If you guys have played Resident Evil 2, you know there's that iconic scene when you first start up the game where you're Leon, and there's a burning truck and zombies are all coming at you. Well, they did a pretty good job trying to like make that happen, and you, of course, if you've seen the previews, then you know that there's a crazy trucker who's driving that becomes zombified. The truck crashes, it blows up. And that's all there, and I really like that. And there's some other really awesome, iconic scenes that they captured very well, even more so than in the other Resident Evils, like I said. So kudos to them for making it feel like Raccoon City and making Raccoon City look like a scary-ass freaking place. The acting here was 50-50. Let's talk about Chris Wedfield, probably my favorite character in the movie. He was an absolute badass like he is in the video games. You know, he was in the army. He freaking joined the RCPD, Raccoon City Police Force. Jill Valentine is also here. Claire Redfield. Albert Wesker. I forget the name of the helicopter pilot, but the helicopter pilot from Alpha Team that, you know, flies him. And Leon Kennedy, of all people. So it's cool how they blended Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, even though really they were going on at the same time. Chris and Claire are Claire Redfield, Chris's sister, are definitely the main characters of this film. It starts off with like their backstory of being in this orphanage run by the Umbrella Corporation, which of course is the cause of all this madness. And you find out as the story progresses. And there's a bunch of other kids at this orphanage, and bad things are happening to these kids. They're getting experimented on and stuff using the G virus, which is like a crazy way to accelerate cells that has crazy mutations and effects. And they're front and center for most of the movie. Leon is more of a side character, which I am disappointed about. Leon is like a super badass. He played Resident Evil 4, he played Resident Evil 2. He be blasting fools. And in this movie, they turned him into a frickin' pansy. Sorry, spoilers. There's going to be a lot more spoilers to come, so if you don't want any more, check this video out after you see it. But overall, go ahead and check it out. It's pretty good. Not the best, but a fun time. Continuing. But yeah, they turned Leon into like a big baby, and he's got this crazy backstory where he got sent to Raccoon City for accidentally shooting his partner. and everybody makes fun of him about it, but then they don't go into detail. He just admits that he did do it. No backstory. He is a bumbling fool. He's always effing stuff up. He kind of gets heroic at the end, but the time that it takes to build up to that, and seeing his character from the beginning, it just really sucks, and I did not enjoy that. And for being a fan of Leon as a character, I really think they missed an opportunity there. Wesker is almost forgettable, which is kind of sad because he's like one of the main bad guys. He gets a little bit of screen time. Of course, he ends up betraying them. They don't really go into the details of who he's betraying them for or anything like that. I can kind of see where people are saying that the story is very disjointed. Obviously, trying to cover 2 video games, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that gets missed, and trying to put all that much story and that much stuff that was going on together at one time in a film is obviously going to be a lot of work. I'm hoping that there's some kind of crazy director's cut with like a lot of chopped footage, which I think there could be, because there's a lot of stuff that is either explained not very well or not at all. A lot of the scenes go back and forth between these groups of characters that are doing different things in the city. A couple of new characters get added, like the police chief of Raccoon City is more of a prominent character through most of the movie, which was surprising and isn't related to the video games. So it's bloated on important characters, I would say, is one of my concerns. They could have cut out probably having Leon in this and done a scene like Resident Evil 2 and just done it from Leon's perspective and not make Leon such a frickin' pansy. But no, so I commend them for what they tried to do, but that's definitely one of the issues that the movie has. Let's talk about the frickin' gore. Frickin' off the chain. I'm not exactly sure what the makeup company was that was working on the special effects here, but kudos to them. Now, of course, there is some CGI when you see like this dog, this Doberman Pinscher, that gets frickin' mutated from licking up the blood of a zombie. He is like rotting, like changing through the movie, and you see him at various stages of his changing, and it goes from like practical drool effects and like work on the eyes to full on like CGI pus and ooze and like monster stuff rotting of his body, and that stuff is okay. You can definitely tell that their CGI budget wasn't the greatest, but minor complaints on that. There is some even worse CGI at the end, like the end monster fight. Ugh, I have some issues with that. The CGI is not very good. The practical effects, though, on the other hand, when they do them, and there's a lot of it, is fantastic. You got gooey munching zombies, you got like people that are not quite zombified doing crazy stuff like pulling their hair out, and they have all these crazy lumps and deformities on their bodies. Very impressed by that. And like they give you ample amounts of gooey goo. I like the pacing of this movie too. Like people say that it's disjointed and frantic and stuff. Like the frantic part is fine with me. I love the pace, and it doesn't seem really slow. The outbreak is progressing further and further, putting them into more desperate situations, and like they give you like this running time as the day is progressing from when the outbreak starts to the progression of the movie, and I really like that, and it does a good job of showing the progression of the outbreak and how desperate things are getting for our main characters, I guess. My favorite part of this film is definitely when Alpha Team goes to the Spencer mansion. The first shot when they actually get into the mansion, and they're just in awe of how ridiculous the place is, and like they do this panning and you can see that they did a freaking fantastic job of getting that iconic scene of when you first come into the mansion and how like big and grand it is. I was in awe myself, like, holy crap, I wonder how long it took them to do this. That leads into another iconic scene where they find one of the Bravo team members getting eaten by a zombie for the first time. I thought they did that pretty freaking well. The zombies taking multiple hits to go down was very authentic to the Resident Evil game. there's this other crazy part. The mansion is crazy, but there's this crazy part where frickin' Chris is in there, like in this room, and all he's got is his lighter, and he thinks there's just one zombie in there, and gets caught by it, and then it just turns into this crazy firefight where he's fighting a bunch of zombies, and all you can kind of see is him going, blah, 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 and you can just kind of see the firelight and the zombies coming at him, and it is extended and long and pretty visceral. I was impressed with some of the choices in the way that this film was shot. I can't say that with all of it though, because I think they could have cut like 10 or 15 minutes of it, of like some of the panning shots that they have. I think they're a little bit too long. There's this one scene in the mansion where this guy's going up with a flashlight, and there's a banister in the middle, and he's going up it, and he's shining the light, and then the camera just passed by, and all you see is like the banister for a really long time, and nothing while it's panning up. And I think they could have done something to cut that. I don't know. I'm kind of a stickler for the average runtime for movies coming out to the theaters these days is like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm cool with an hour and a half to 2 hours as long as it's like good. I don't need all this long crap. I got crap to do. I got other movies to watch. But these are all minor complaints. Some of the scares, they got some good jump scares, and then they have some good scares that are kind of earned. That part in particular, very impressed with all that. The action is non-stop. Some of the dialogue is freaking amazing from some of these characters. Some of it not so much. Sad that Wesker was weak. So I really hope that this movie does well. The end credits, you gotta stay for a little bit. There's a post-credit scene where they introduce another pretty important character to the franchise. A character that was presumed dead returns, typical of the story. And I can't wait to see where else that they would go with this, especially if they're gonna do what I think they're gonna do based on who they introduced, which I think is fantastic. Don't let these critics that are watching this movie tell you anything about it, telling you how it's disjointed and crappy and stuff like that. It's none of I mean, yes, it's disjointed to a point, but not to the point where it's unwatchable. And it's freaking fun. I took my youngest daughter and Is It Dev. We went and saw that at the movie theater, and both of them really freaking enjoyed it. Is It Dev is very hard to impress when it comes to movies. And if he's saying that he liked it, then there's gotta be something there. He is a video game mark, so that might have a little bit to do with it, but that even just heightens it, because if he's saying that it's worthy of being a video game movie, maybe it's worth checking out. So, of course, that's my opinions. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. I really liked it. I think if you are a fan of the video games, you'll like it. I think you're looking for a fun action horror, you'll like it. If you're looking for some pretty scary, gnarly zombies, you'll like it. If you like Leon Kennedy, maybe not so much. But other than that, fantastic movie. Let me know in the comments what you think about Resident Evil. Does it hold up to the old ones? Is it better than the old ones? Did you not like it? Why didn't you like it? What were your favorite parts? Just let me know in the comments. What other movies have you been checking out? Let me know that in the comments. You know I always like to know what you guys are checking out. I got some more movie reviews coming out pretty soon. Stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe. Give us the old LSS. You know we really like that stuff around here. I'm your boy Jimmy P. Until the next movie, don't forget to hit record.